I sometimes think when the whole no proof thing, like we had the craziest experience of my life the other day. I'll tell you about it. Because our lives are so crazy, like why would I lie? But the other day, we went swimming with killer whales in Mexico. I said the other day, it was last year. And it was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. There's no proof of it. There's no evidence because it was so off the cuff. We weren't planning on doing it. So most people I tell are like, you definitely didn't do that. But we were in Mexico and we were on a boat and we just so happened to see this pod of orca. Jack, my security guard, thought it'd be a good idea to jump in. He jumped straight in, flippers on, goggles on, and we were driving to keep up with the whales because they were kind of following our boat. So by the time Jack had jumped in, he was like this. He was like 100 meters away and you could see him and the whales were like swimming around him. So I'm starting to freak out because he's a good friend of mine.
And he's your security guy.
And he's my security. I'm like, Jack, we got to get back to the hotel, bro. So I said to the guy, like, excuse me, sir, can you turn around and go and get my friend? Because we now can't see him anymore. Like, he's gone. God. We found him. We got him back in the boat. And he sort of said, like, lads, you have to get in. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. My brother Harry's, like, Googling whether or not it's safe to swim with them. And it's sort of, the general consensus online is don't go swimming with killer whales. You can. There's never been a recorded attack in the wild. But they are wild animals.
There's no one
They're
to
also
report.
as big as a bus. And also, Jack's giving it like, don't worry, Tom, I'll be there. I'll look after you. I'm like, Jack, what are you going to do, bro? Like, what's this whale decides to eat me? So anyway, we put the flippers on, put the goggles on. We find the whales. They're sort of interacting with the back of the boat. They're clearly curious. And I just thought, like, I guess it goes back to what you're saying, the mode of ignorance. I just was like, I'm going to try it and see what happens. I jumped in. My brother jumped in, Jack jumped in. We kind of came together. We're 30 miles out of the coast, so it's literally like dark blue water, nothing below us. And to my relief, the whales had gone. We couldn't see them. So I'm sort of thinking, oh, well, that's actually a bit of a touch. At least I can say I jumped in and they have gone. But then Jack said, look down. And we looked down and it came from beneath us. And what has been such an interesting experience for me was as soon as I saw the whale, I wasn't scared anymore because I could just tell that it wasn't going to eat me. I don't know how to explain it, but you could just see from its body language. I remember it so vividly. It swam up to us. It was maybe 10 meters below us and it was kind of motionlessly sort of just looking at us. And then it kind of rolled on its back. It did this weird thing where it kind of put its head like this and you could see its eye. Like we were having this crazy like moment and then it just swam off and it was gone. And then for 3 hours afterwards, I couldn't speak. I had the biggest adrenaline dump. I just basically was asleep. But it was such an amazing experience to sort of meet the apex predator of the world and it kind of look at you and just swim away. Most people don't believe me because
I believe you.
There's no evidence, but it was, I think about it now. And then, do you know what's so funny as well? I see like our planet, there's more footage of orcas hunting and another way in which they hunt. There is no way I would do that again. There's no way I'd get in there again. But yeah, it was amazing.
Hearing you explain it is like, you're so present.
Yeah.
Like you can tell that you were so present in that moment. Like you stop thinking about like, oh, well, you know, if I tell this afterwards, no one's gonna believe me or whatever it is. You're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, nature makes you present like that.
And that's what I love about nature is it's completely unbiased as well. Yeah. Like if that whale wanted to have a snack, then, you know, it's not looking at you going, oh no, but that's a famous person. I've got to leave him alone. Or it just, you are at one with Mother Nature. Yeah. We're in the middle of the ocean. There's nothing we could do. And we just were able to enjoy, somewhat maybe like being in the cave, like you were saying. It was just about us and this whale. My brother and I were holding hands. But then as soon as it presented itself to us, any stress just dissipated. Yeah. And it was just this unbelievable experience. And it was so leveling. It was so humbling that it makes me feel like I can take on certain things. So it was honestly, even thinking about the experience now, my heart is racing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, it was a cool experience. That's
unbelievable. That's an incredible experience. And it is different from the cave though, because I do think it's different when you're with another living being.
Sure.
And so that's what I found. Like my closest experience to what you're talking about is I went trekking looking for mountain gorilla in Rwanda last year.
Oh, that's
Have you been?
top of my list. I would love to do that.
Yeah, we should do it. I would do that again any day because it was unbelievable. So you're not, again, these gorillas are not like in a park or something.
No.
They're mountain gorilla. They're in their world. And you go and look for them and there's no tagging devices or any tech. There's people who have watched the gorilla for so many years that they know where their droppings are, they know where families hang out, they know what their routines are. So depending on what time you're going out, there's someone who's just around them who's calling their friend, calling your guide saying, walk this way.
This is where you got to go.
Exactly.
Right.
Just to make it very, very clear that, you know, the gorilla is being treated very well. So you're literally looking around and you could be on the lookout for them for like 2 to 6 hours.
Wow.
You may not find them. You're just hiking.
See, I love that. That you might not find them.
Yeah, you might not find them. So we found them in 2 hours. One group that we heard about, because you go in smaller groups of like 10. The other group that we were friends with, they took 8 hours to find gorillas, but they saw them too. And when I went, I was kind of like, oh, we're going to see one gorilla or whatever. Like they're going to be far away. Like I was a bit skeptical because I didn't know how it was going to be. And it was incredible because we looked around for 2 hours and I'll show you the video afterwards, but we just saw them like hanging out, kind of like how I'm looking at everyone here, just hanging out still. And then all of a sudden they all started walking together and there was a family of 20 gorillas.
Wow.
And you got 2 silverbacks that are like, you know, they're like, their fists are like, like just huge.
Slap you and you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really interesting because the guides who were there with us, they said to us that when you go close to them, kind of like, and this is why I remembered it and why I'm telling you, it's because when you were talking about the way the whale looked at you, and it was kind of like, you knew it wasn't going to eat you.
Yeah.
And so they were saying that when you get close to these gorillas, the only thing you can't do is you can't touch their kids and you can't touch them.
Yeah.
And so you can't drop something near their kids and then try get it back because they'll think you're trying to harm their kids.
Totally.
But what they recommended was, they said you had to make this sound when you see them, and this sound means we come in peace. And so the sound was, so that's you have to make that sound. And I was like, all right, this is some Disneyland stuff.
Yeah. That sounds like nonsense.
I was like, yeah, I'm not believing this stuff. Like, whatever. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to play around with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around. So we go to the gorilla and we get close to them. And I made that sound because we were told, they were like, make that sound. And then the gorilla did it back. And it was just unbelievable. And then there was this one moment where we were walking and we were literally surrounded by gorilla. Now I was getting it. And that's when I was like a bit scared because they were like all around us. And like literally if they ran at you, like I'm done.
Yeah,
like, you know,
nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. And so they're walking around us and this massive silverback came up. So my business manager was with me as well. And so he's there. He's like my godfather in LA. Like he takes care of me.
Love
so
it.
very close to him. And so this big gorilla that walks behind him, and I'm looking at him going, oh man, like he stopped and we're all looking at him because he's got this massive silverback behind him. And we're all like, how do we tell him to move? And the guy's like, just be still, like just, you know, be really present, like you can't freak out. And the gorilla just went,
wow,
behind him,
amazing.
and he moved out the way and just walked past.
Wow.
And it was that same presence that you're feeling that I felt with them. And that's what I mean, being with another living being is spectacular. So
do you think that level of ease comes from the helpless nature of being in the presence of an animal that could do to you whatever they want to? Like, I think part of the reason why I felt so calm when the whale had come up was because there was nothing we could do should it go sideways.
Yeah.
And I think finding that kind of inner peace of like, I've made my mind, this is the choices I've made, I'm here now, there's nothing I can do. It's almost like you should make peace with your choices, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know.
No. I think you've actually taken it somewhere really beautiful, mate. I think for me as well, it's humility.
Yeah, that's what.
And like when you meet someone new, rarely are we humble.
Sure.
We often feel the pressure to be like, well, look at who I am, or
Right.
you know, or we're trying to create, even if it's not out of ego, there's a certain sense of like wanting to gain people's like and respect.
Yeah, and you want to impress people.
No matter what I do, this whale or gorilla is not going to like or respect me.
Sure.
So I better just be humble about it,
Yeah.
and at peace, as you said.
And it levels you.
And it levels you, and it allows that human being, that being also, of course, it's not, you know, of course, we're not recommending that you just go into these places.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but the idea being that I do think there's something magical about nature where humility is kind of nature's way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that what you're saying, that when you're at peace with your choices and you're at peace with, here we are, here I am, I can't do anything. And guess what? It's okay.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's somewhat sort of like I've made a decision. If the decision is a mistake, you got to live with it because
Yeah.
you made it. I
Yeah.
guess.